What's good in the hood, y'all? Or what's up, everybody? My name is Good For You Grim, or Raymond Jock says Morpheus, and today I'm here to talk about a lot of problems that may be sensitive to a lot of viewers. Things that involve a lot about DEI, or Bridge now, and various things that may hurt some people. If you do not like what I'm about to say, I would advise to perhaps sign off and let it be there. Until then, we're going to talk about a lot of problems with video games, media, and shows. DEI. What is DEI? As far as I know, DEI is about representation, inclusivity, and the equity of things. Let's be real honest. Equity was the equity. If you don't know what equity definition is, as I'm going to look it up right here, equity meaning equity means fairness and justice, or, in a best way of definition, is quality and fair impartial, value of shares issued by a company, value of mortgage property. So in other words, it's about fairness or proper value of production. Most times with equity, it means proper production and proper profit, usually. And it's good shares of it all. The problem with a lot of the DEI stuff is that they're not profitable for a lot of games and industries. Whether you agree or disagree, that's up to you. You don't have to fully agree, but where I grew up as the time, I was born in the 2000s, 2002 to be exact. And I was raised by parents with common sense, and stuff, and a lot of street sense and so on, depending on my mom, my dad. They all both have their flaws. I have my own. I am a mentally disabled person. I have autism, ADHD, ODD, ADD, Asperger's. But anyways, I grew up playing video games for fun. I played a game like World of Warcraft as a kid, as a toddler in fact. I was on my lap during the baby age, watching my mom play her games while she breastfed me or take care of me and so on and so forth. After I grew up and being able to walk around and take care of myself, I would sneak up on my parents' computer and accidentally kill the characters, whether or not it was fun, it was hilarious, so on and so forth. My parents didn't punish me for that because it was just a game. They were easily recovered or easy to get support and respawn their character to a last spirit healer or scrap spirit healer, take the debuff and just die out. Anywho, I play World of Warcraft still to this day from time to time, and still enjoy the first character I played when I got my first ever account. And guess what? My character that I first ever created was named after my favorite movie as a kid, Wally. And I still hold him. I may have altered him a bit, but I still cherish his appearance and his hair color and so on and so forth. And I kept that the same. The only thing I changed was really just the beard style, and that was it. I guess they allowed more expanded customization. Anywho, video games and movies and shows have become very inside the box. Now, why is it inside the box, you ask? Well, the best way to put it is being inside the box is never good. In my life, being inside the box has very limited me. I was down, I was out until a purpose was forged. What that purpose is my real life. My real life, I had a new sibling to the family at the age of 18, and my life was forced to change around, whether I liked it or not. I need to change my life around for the better or for the worst. And no matter the outcome, I will take that to full accountability. And as for DEI stuff, nobody takes accountability or responsibility of the bare weight that holds onto them. The weight of creativity and direction of things has become stagnant or not exit that box and to go outside and create things beyond imaginable or expanded things beyond your thought. Me with my open-mindedness that is endless, like, let's be real, I create things inside my head constantly, every day, every night. Even before I sleep, I would dream of such a cool thing in my head, and it was awesome. Chaotic, perhaps, but it was fun. It was exhilarating. It was entertaining nonetheless. Heck, even after I have dreams, I would giggle away in my sleep. Why? Because it was funny. It was hilarious. And then my family would hear me laugh out loud in my sleep. They would thought I was awake. But I was asleep. It's a very crazy thing, but my mom actually told me that because she thought I was awake. She was going to tell me I was going to sleep, but then when she looked, I was asleep. And she was like, oh, okay. Anywho, we're going on a little sidetrack. DEI is inside the box and has been constantly referred to as do not buy. Or don't even invest in the best way to put it. DEI is now shifting to bridge, and it's still going to become a problem perhaps for 2025 until every common sense person, no matter what side you're on, pushes it back and say, enough's enough, we just want to have fun. The problem with these activists, these people who are on social media 24/7, who speak about their self-righteousness, their condescending behavior, their egotistical maniac behavior, you need to just learn to shut up and just enjoy life while it lasts. But they refuse to. Why? Because they don't like their life. They seem to think every problem revolves around others other than themselves. So whenever other people try to support them, whether it be bots, whether it be so-called groups they're in, it just does feel so artificial at best. Like, the best way to put it, this Alyssa Mercante person that I've watched a few good videos about, even her actions around Smash JT, and I honestly do not fucking agree with her. She's a pussy and she's a bitch. Why would somebody be a prostitute, work in journalism? Whether or not you do not like your boys, you could have, instead of been doing journalism of video games, you could have been doing journalism about sexual stuff and how bad it could be for the mental health. How bad, dating too many men or using your body too many men could affect your mental health and the mental capacity you can do. Instead of doing that sort of content, she decided to enter the video game space and take her words and bash at people who do not agree. Which, to me, is a stupid move. Why do I say it's a stupid move? It's because a lot of people do not understand that that she's a prostitute. Whether you like to think of that or not, I want to set that mindset aside. I don't want to be rude or anything, but if you're a prostitute, I'm not going to take you seriously about you hating men. You did that to yourself. Yes, I was pointing at the camera, you didn't see it, but basically I'm pointing at Melissa Conte virtually. Think of my clawy like hands here and there. It's basically trying to say, oh, you basically did that to yourself. Nobody's to blame but you. These are my claws, by the way. Anywho, a lot of problems that arise with the whole activism things is a really problem that's made of itself. They tend to think the AAA studios or the game industry, the government and stuff is ruining their lives. I may be a retard, let's be real. I qualify as a retard by definition because of my disabilities. So YouTube, if you hear me say the R word, forgive me. But basically, why I think every single activist and whatnot on even Twitter, X, even Blue Sky are fucking retards? Because they are. Why do I want to call them that? It's because they don't think straight, they don't think open-mindedly, they are confined inside their bubble, echo chamber in a way, yelling at the wall, and thinking everybody else is at fault but themselves. There's times I thought of that too at 16 years old. My life was shit because of that, and until my sister came to my world, I had to change my life around, whether I liked it or not. And so far, my life has been pretty fun. I still make a few mistakes here and there as a 22 years old man. But I still am doing my best to improve. Doing my best to change the ways I live, to change the way I do things around my house as best I can. I still have my behavior shifts here and there, but I do not ever try to use it against people I like. Now, why do these activists, though, want to make you like them, want to make you want the attention and whatnot? It's because they didn't live in a life where attention was theirs. I didn't even care for attention as a teenager. I was in my mood swings as a teenager. At 16 years old, 15 years old, I was already hitting my puberty age of selfishness and entitlement. But once I got to adulthood, I had to change that type of mindset around. I had to know for the better. But these people are now adults. They're 20, 30, 40 years old, and they're now speaking about, self-righteousness and, stuff about problems in the video game industry that does not exist. A lot of these problems about, there's not enough black people, not enough Asian people, not enough other things, and so on and so forth, not enough disabled people, or so on, up in the gaming industry. This is not a problem. A lot of these double A's and indies are actually now looking for the talents they need. Because a lot of those AAA talents have left the studio and moved on to their own studios, indie or AA, and have made far better content than AAAs. Anytime these these activists try to do indie studios and whatnot, it ultimately failed. Why? Because they're still inside the box and they're creating games inside the box. Let's think of Veilguard. Veilguard was supposed to be a very creative fantasy world RPG. That RPG was absolute garbage. Let's be honest here. Let's be honest in a street sense, common sense, so on and so forth. Was you a libertarian? Was you a conservative? It was shit. Even if you wanted to agree because you want to be a good boy and on the left side or right side to those people or in between, that's up to you to lie to them. What's not alright is the fact that you just can't say that it was just garbage. You need to be open-minded and be like, okay, it was alright, but there were so many flaws with the story writing and so many things, because the RPG of Veilguard was not open box. It was so divided that you couldn't even disagree with characters. What kind of RPG is that if you can't make a character hate you? Whether they're on your team or whether they're an enemy. If you can't make them hate you, then, like, you're not even an RPG character. You're just an NPC stuck with it inside the box of you have to do these things in order to move on. There's many games that do inside the box where you can't choose certain things, but they're fucking good. And I'm saying about the 2000s, 2010s games I played. I still even go scavenge through them on my Steam and on whatever platform I can find, or even try to go find the emulator if I want to later on and play all these old games and realize a lot of these things were a lot more than meets the eye. Even if they weren't profitable, they were better than what we have to deal with in the early 2020s. And all of this activist stuff started during 2018-2019, at best, when they started to really shift the way the games work. 1 second here, I'm going to drink more water. Good water. When you think inside the box, like, literally you'll see a background of a recording of me playing Total War Warhammer 3. I liked the Warhammer actually recently. I didn't get invested in Warhammer, but I liked the theme of it, since, like, Warhammer Online. Now I play a private server called Return of Reckoning, and that game is absolutely phenomenal. Like, if you're new here and you don't know Return of Reckoning, go check out the private server. It might be tedious to install, but it's not actually hard. Once you get it all set up, you can enter the game, absolutely have a blast, because there's players there doing activities, chatting, leveling, and it's absolutely fun to see that even though that game was dead years ago, people came back and they went to see it and have fun. And, like, even at max level, there's events going on where they raid certain areas of the max level zones or certain new private server content to make things interesting for a change. And in the end, EA's old, or what was it? I think it was something Forge, people who did create that game. I'll double check later. But basically, those developers absolutely allowed support for the game as long as it wasn't profiting. And that's what it did. What the developers did. The private server developers did. They did not do anything to make monetary value. They just created a game out of love. And because the MMO was good, it came out at the bad time. Best way to put it. It came out during a time World of Warcraft was still popular and wasn't dying. And not many people at the time could subscribe to multiple games that were MMOs. But anywho, I play a Warhammer, and people were also talking about, DEI stuff for Warhammer 40k stuff, trans, woman Astartes, so on and so forth. And I'm sitting here like, love cannot be made in Warhammer world. From observation in both the books and whatnot, everybody fucking dies. Like, everybody. Whether you're on the side of good or the side of evil, everybody's fucking evil. They all believe in what their religion says. And the best way to put it, well, you can't do love inside of Warhammer. I'm pretty sure the books even depicted where characters had love, and they just died. They died brutal deaths that were so frightening and dark that you just realize, like, wow, damn, not even love can be free from the bloodshed. And to have some sort of fat, like even the art depiction of a fat Osiris, obviously the person who created that art, I think, was doing it in a stereotypical, insulting way. And I absolutely just laughed at it because you know what? I'm a little fat myself, but here I am, like in characters that are more muscular. I mean, heck, my avatar is probably going to be remodeled to be a little more muscular than it is slim. Because I did like slim characters, but I might adjust his body shape, so on and so forth, once I get the money rolling in. Anywho, the way people think is that they want to go at these big IPs and change the way it's written to benefit themselves or these certain minorities. Don't. As somebody who is very creative minded, you don't want to kneel down to these people as far as I understand. These people are going to just keep demanding more and more stupid nonsense stuff until they are bored. And that's the problem. These people are bored and are on the internet 24/7 bitching and complaining about their life being miserable when a lot of these problems of their life, they could have went outside, touch grass, and went to do things that they thought they couldn't do, but it's still there, available, and constantly there to try out and have fun. But because they blame others, they blame the people who disagree, they blame the people in the government, they blame things that clearly they had no idea. It's not their fault, it's your own. And the more you blame others instead of yourself in certain cases where you don't do the no Johns model that I started learning the hard way with a friend who's I played League of Legends. I kept blaming these things, these problems, these are not, and not them, of course, because I knew they were friends. And they said, no Johns, man, no Johns. I'm like, oh, fuck, okay, I'll just, blah, blah, blah. And then it's like, no Johns. And it's like, I shut the fuck up myself. And then after a while, after practicing hard and like the rank stuff and whatnot, I stopped blaming myself and others even in the game unless I really felt like they were fucking up the entire game because they were intentionally feeding and intentionally fucking up the game, so on and so forth. But if I knew they were just trying to assist, then that's a different story. I can tell because I'll see the assists of their end and I'll be like, they did their best. Now, when it comes to stuff like video games itself and movies, shows, media, a lot of this DEI stuff or representation in these entitled young adults, actors, activists, so on and so forth, they don't understand that not everything goes your way. Why do I say not everything goes your way? Because it's a part of life. It's a part of things that we as a person cannot understand. And to say that, oh, you are the person at fault for everything is like telling to somebody who's a freaking statue that you're to blame for my freaking stubbing my toe. That thing is a statue, my friend. That statue had no fault for anything. They're just built there. You stubbed your toe on yourself for not paying attention to your surroundings. I trip the trample all the time. I blame my siblings all the time for their messes. But in truth, it was me for not paying attention on the floor that there was a few little maze things I gotta step over. But I do tell them to try to clean up the mess if I do notice it. See, my sister, I tell her to help me clean up these messes because I know it's going to be problematic, and so on and so forth. Anywho, another game I would like to talk about, Spider-Man. When I play Spider-Man games, I expect to play, you guessed it, Spider-Man. Doesn't matter which iteration of Spider-Man, I'm playing the Spider-Man. But when I looked at Spider-Man 2 versus the PS4 version of Spider-Man, even the remaster, it was all about Peter Parker and a bit of Miles Morales. Because it made sense. It made sense because Miles Morales is also going to be impacted to the story because he was in there to be the second Spider-Man. I bet you in the Miles Morales game it was the same thing. It was just about Spider-Man, doing these certain missions. But when Spider-Man 2 came to be, about deaf character or more MJ missions that they try to expand upon, it ultimately failed. When I play a Spider-Man game, I want to play Miles Morales or Peter Parker. Not MJ or this deaf girl I have no idea about, but I saw gameplay clips and I was like, why would I want to do the missions? I'm probably gonna mod the frick out of the game on PC and make it so I skip those missions completely. Or I just completely delete the game after those missions and be like, well, we defeat Venom and go happily ever after, the end. It's like, I'm not here to play a deaf girl. I don't care what this deaf girl has to deal with. It sucks. It definitely sucks. Like, yes, the game world is meant to be also this modern world, but you don't need to put a deaf girl in a mission. You could definitely have her talk to Miles Morales on the sidelines, so on, with her sign language. But a mission with her? I'm sorry, like, ain't nobody wants to waste their entire few hours playing a deaf girl. I'm sorry. The reason why I say this is because a lot of people expect to play Spider-Man when they see the game cover, the title, Spider-Man. Do I fully agree with the deaf girl being in the game? That as long as they were a side character that just didn't have any gameplay missions, I wouldn't have cared. But the fact that I have to do the missions is absolutely annoying, to say the least. Why do I say this? Is because, like, a lot of problems that go on with the whole DEI is a lot of unnecessary inside box inserts in fictional worlds, in fictional environments that aren't needed. The whole sake of, like, Concord, that game failed because it was not creative, it was not outside the box, it was not fun. Sure, maybe there's cool mechanics in the shooting game that I just saw, but the character designs and character dialogue or character stereotypes were just not likable. When you play something like Overwatch, even though, let's be honest, Overwatch was shit, but a lot of stuff that the characters were designed were pretty good. Except for the newer characters. Mainly, what was it? The Digger character that absolutely was just shit, in my opinion. But other than that, a lot of the characters that were designed were pretty good, and, like, a lot of fans even created NSFW arts of it. I absolutely am no joke about it. I've heard about it, I've watched some of that stuff, didn't care. But when it comes to a lot of things regarding DI in terms of video games, it doesn't work. It never will. Concord failed. Suicide Squad failed. Because a lot of these things did not work. They were just bad writing as a whole and all too soft. When you're dealing with dark tones or certain violence and certain things, you have to go beyond the box and make it so that if it's meant to be a bit grim in certain areas or a bit dark, you make it feel and look and think of it as dark, where the person could die or will die, and you could just see it from 1,000 miles away too, because there could be like hints, so on and so forth. But when you're dealing with these soft writing, is that they are so inside the box that you just can't think or say that it's good. You're just like, type of deal. And that's what happened with me. I kept looking at these things, I kept thinking straight and trying to be very, very open-minded with the stuff and tried to be kind. I just couldn't. Because it was so insulted in certain areas, I just couldn't agree. Like, they want to offend normal people? By all means, do it in your own fucking game. I hate to be this fucking guy, but yeah, I don't side with the right, I don't side with the left, I'm usually in between. I only side with one side or the other if it benefits my own fucking life in the government space. But when you put these politics stuff aside into the fucking video game, I'm gonna bash your fucking head right into a window and say you shouldn't even be in this workplace. I hate to be that sort of guy, but it's like, you ruined my freaking job, my career, and I don't care if I get fired or you get hurt and I go to jail. It's like, you're the one messing with the whole fun of things. You're messing with the creativity, you're messing with the art. Art is meant to be outside of the box. You take your imagination to extreme levels, and it doesn't matter if it's perfect or not. You went outside the box and learned if it's worked or not. In a lot of these fictional things, you do not go inside the box with a lot of creativity. A lot of things have to be outside the box. Outside of everything you could think of in this real world is beyond. So, like, let's say, when it comes to fictional politics, you make them fictional. You make them have some sort of motive of why they become this villainous politic. Metal Gear Solid as a prime example, Metal Gear Horizon have these politics who are really greedy for power. And sometimes they will do any sort of extreme limits to achieve their goals, their ends. Not everybody enjoys when the politic just looks like a white asshole who seems like he was the asshole, but when you look at writing, he wasn't really the asshole. You, as the character in the main story, like Veilgar and whatnot, were actually the real assholes. You were the ones responsible for ruining things in terms of the writing, in terms of how the story goes. Like, I'm not trying to be like, if you throw insults at me for being racist, fascist, misogynistic, and whatnot, go look at the mirror and ask yourself, are you the person that is responsible for these words? Because every time these people throw these insults at the wall, at you, or attempt to, it falls dead onto the heels. Why? Because the insults don't have true meaning anymore. They start brainsilly and think they're in the right. They're in the full right of everything wrong with this world. But in reality, they are not in the right. All these activists, all these writers, all these journalists and whatnot do not understand that if you want to report these things, do it right. Do not throw insults at people who disagree just because they disagreed. Even as a developer, you shut the fuck up and you create your fucking game. If it fails, it fails. If it doesn't, wait a year for it to fully succeed and spread word that it's actually good and go there. Even the AAA industry tends to be very strict in their whole earnings. They tend to expect everything to be profited within the first quarterly of release that they put the game in. The problem is that not all quarterlies are profitable within the first quarter. It takes every game, as far as I know, even through history itself, takes about a year or two to fully become popular and big. To the point you can milk out that IP. AAA's invest too heavily on extreme levels with $200 million plus into this stuff, when a lot of the other AA games make less games with less amount in time. And they only have less amount of employees even doing that aren't divided and are pretty straightforward in creativity. That's quite insulting as a AAA industry to be literally shamed on by AA and indie developers who actually do far advanced work than you could ever imagine. I honestly think with 2025, a lot of changes now are going to be good. We're finally pushing these things that are horrible for the games. And even though a lot of these directors, like even Helldivers 2 Zero, even though he's like, oh, there's no DI if it's not invested, stick to that word and don't ever put in representation nonsense. Don't put rainbow capes onto your Helldivers. And let the game be a fun, stereotypical thing about democracy. Same can be said with Warhammer. Do not kneel down to these people who want, representation of fat characters, trans characters, women of Astartes, when in reality, the women of Astartes are literally the battle sisters, the battle maidens. Don't believe me? Look up the battle maidens. Look at the books. Look at the stuff, comics about the battle maidens. They actually sound pretty badass for a woman fighter, who, although does not have the genes of the Astartes, they are actually profound fighters to the bitter end, and they will die for the Emperor's name. And they are willing to take the risk and protect their people in the process as well. Those are pretty badass, in my opinion, for a woman-like fighter. But when you put a lot of representation, well, it just ruins the game as far as I can tell as an observer. I'm literally an observer here. Anywho, I'm gonna chalk it off here with in terms of the right, a lot of these things about the politics, but I will probably commentate more and whatnot. If you disagree, feel free to give your criticisms or disagreements in the comments below. I will look up to it, but do not call me names or insults because I disagreed with a lot of these people. I'm just an observer. I stand in the middle. I am not right-wing. I am not conservative. But I do, in fact, am probably shift into that level. Not out of spite, not out of rage, because it's the only thing that I've seen with the left side is there's nothing beneficial at this moment. Until the left side shifts to make things beneficial for good or bad, mostly good at best, I will shift to that side. But until then, and if you agree, feel free to give your agreements. And if you have any criticisms, feel free to give any fair, constructive criticism or even critical criticisms. Just don't resort to the worst of insulting people and, so on and so forth. And as a list of my content, do not attack me for just disagreeing. I've seen how unhinged you get. And I will absolutely laugh my ass off no matter what. I don't mean it in a rude way, but when it comes to people who get so easily offended, I will literally laugh my ass off like a freaking actual reasonable maniac. Because I am an actual maniac at times, but not in the sense that I want to harm others. Anyways, like, comment, subscribe if you want to. Give your comment below of any criticisms, whether good, bad, or in agreements, disagreements. Don't steep too low to these activists, journalists, and whatnot, but do call them out when need to. This is good for you, Grim, or Raymond Draxus Morpheus, the Black Dragon Overlord, soon to be the Supreme Emperor of Chaos, signing out.